3 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us. Lots to get to on today's program. We'll talk several Gamecock storylines. Baseball last night. Boy, went a while. Gamecocks had a long first inning, then a decent little rain delay. And then they just decided to put the jugs machine out there and throw the ball down the middle at about 80 miles an hour.
Batting practice.
That's basically
for
what
both teams.
The final score, 19-14. I imagine there are a few, maybe even including pitching coach Matt Williams, is like, I don't know if I want to give up 14 runs in a midweek game. You won the game, so that's really all that matters. And we'll ask John Whittle more about this. I wouldn't read too much into this, Gamecock fans. I really wouldn't. I know some of you will. But on a short week, right, and a road week, you're not throwing your most productive bullpen arms. And you were already going to have a Johnny Holstaff game anyway, as Coach likes to do in the midweek. It happens. I wouldn't sweat it because you won the baseball game. Now, if it was tighter than comfort would typically allow, and then Mark decided, well, we better get Becker out there, we better get Gainey out there. I mean, we can't lose. Then you've got a different situation. But you won the baseball game, so I don't think. I don't want to say they don't care. I can't. I'm not in between their ears, Elijah. I wouldn't sweat it that much. Let me say again, you won the baseball game.
It is just ironic that after, at your last, 5 games, and 3 of those you played the number 3 team in the country and had an ERA of a flat 2 and struck out 28, and then against 2 Big South teams, you were giving up, let's do some math here. Yeah, 11 runs a game.
Yeah, 22 runs.
Against the Big South opponents,
right.
But your ERA was a flat 2 against the number 3 team in the country. Ironic.
I don't know if it was in the contract that you couldn't throw any curves or sliders. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw me do the shoulder shrug. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm doing that guy. You're
the emoji.
Yeah,
the hand,
just with the hands up.
It's like, it's odd.
We'll ask John.
Odd.
We'll ask John if it matters.
Yeah.
Because, again, about the only person who knows more about South Carolina baseball is Mark Kingston. Mark Kingston first, then John Whittle, then the rest of Mark's staff, then Ray Tanner.
If John becomes number 1, then that's when it becomes. then that's when John becomes the head coach.
I mean, you know what? Is he maybe already?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe he's in the press box or whatever, sending messages to Mark to call.
I don't know if he's doing that. I don't know if he's coaching the team as much as just his knowledge of the team.
Oh, you're saying
just knowledge of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not control of. John would tell you he would never do that. But his knowledge is extensive. But we are big fans of John Whittles, and he'll be with us coming up at the bottom of the hour. A lot of Gamecock football to continue discussing. Shane Beamer spoke yesterday. We've had players speaking throughout the week, and we'll get you a lot of player sound, including some sound from quarterbacks Lenore Sellers and Robbie Ashford about what's going on in that room as things are beginning to evolve. Coach Beamer did touch on that yesterday, and we played a couple of those clips for you. You may revisit the one about the quarterback room because I thought it was interesting. And while we love you guys doing what you do with us all the time, I will invite you at some point, maybe not now, later tonight when you're home and we're away from the local programming. But Coach Beamer had a sit-down with Josh Pate on Josh's Late Kick show. And very good. Went about 45 minutes. Talked about a lot of stuff, including how Coach Beamer found out about a few breaking stories in the last couple of years, including, where he was when he found out that Nick Saban was leaving, that he had no heads-up knowledge, and then a lot about how he likes to coach and go the day-by-day operations as sort of a CEO. And from my own point of view and listening to that, I was listening to him apply the things that he likes to do and thinking to myself that maybe that's why the guy that preceded him, who's a terrific defensive mind and an excellent analyst of the game, was not really cut out for being a head football coach in today's Southeastern Conference and college football world. I don't know that his predecessor really wanted to do the, for lack of a better term, extracurricular stuff.
The stuff that comes with being a head coach in the SEC?
Yeah, or just a head coach typically in general. right? But certainly I think in a high-profile conference where there are so many moving parts and so many things to take care of.
Well, you're also part figurehead and part politician.
Yeah.
And part a lot of different things.
Fundraiser.
Yeah.
I mean.
Salesman.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a lot. There is. And some people are more willing to embrace those roles. I'm not knocking Coach Muschamp. Again, Will's brilliant defensive mind. And I'm glad I applaud Will. I was pleasantly surprised when I heard that Will was going to be taking time away from on-field responsibilities to go be a dad, because I know, in all seriousness.
Good for him.
Yeah. Between the Florida gig and then a year at Auburn and then the time at South Carolina, there wasn't a lot of time for that. So good. That's good. And, we know Will's got a nice nest egg to not have to worry about it for a year or two.
He's got a son who's pretty good himself, who will be playing in the SEC.
That's good. So, but anyway, good stuff. So check it out. If you already subscribed to Josh's podcast, you might have already heard it. I guess it was a couple of days ago. But good stuff there. Basketball news, there is another transfer portal member from South Carolina, Ibrahim Adiba, who had transferred into Carolina a couple of years ago from Coastal, had an Achilles tear, just never, those take nearly a year, just like a pretty big knee injury to come back from. And even when he got on the court, the production just wasn't there. It's not a knock. It happens. Achilles injuries are often so very difficult to come back from. We've seen that many times in sports, but he has entered the portal. So if nothing else, it opens up another slot for Lamont and the staff, as you and I were talking earlier off air, Elijah, to go and find someone who can be more productive. And again, that's not a knock on, because I think we thought Ibrahim was going to come in here and have some meaningful minutes, when fully healthy and coming out of a good conference at Coastal and good teacher and coach and Cliff Ellis at the time. Just didn't, again, major injury is 90+% of what didn't happen for him at Carolina.
Yeah, the Achilles is notorious for ending, at least the prime of careers. Kobe Bryant was never the same after he tore his Achilles. Sean Marion, to me, might be the most notable of difference in athleticism for somebody who relied so much of it. Tore his Achilles, was absolutely never the same afterwards. But if you look at his departure and you see the spot that it opens up, you have some talented freshmen coming in, most notably Trent Noah. You'd like to be able to have a spot for him to be able to see if he's good enough to play right away, or especially defend at the SEC level. We all know he can shoot. But if he's able to defend at an SEC level, it'd be good to have that spot there for him to be able to play right away and get some very valuable experience as a freshman. And South Carolina is also reportedly in on about 3 players in the transfer portal that I think very highly of that would be incredible gets for them and would automatically make you better from day one. And if that gives you that type of flexibility, then it's good for all parties. Ibrahim can go to a place where he's going to be a little more involved in the offense and be a little more involved in the team in general, and that can open up a spot for you to get one of these transfer portal players that you're reportedly in on.
I suppose the answer is all of the above before I even offer multiple choice answers to a question, but what might be, in your estimation, the single most important hole to fill for South Carolina? Maybe not from a personnel standpoint, but from a positional standpoint.
Ooh, from a positional standpoint, I think probably your most important, probably a rim protector. I think you're going to need a really good rim protector. When you're in the SEC and you play against teams that have like Florida's size, Auburn's size, teams that do facilitate really good offense and are able to get to the rim at a high percentage, you'd like to be able to have another Josh Gray type player who can take away shots at the rim, right? You'd like to be able to compete against those teams in that area, especially teams that have the athleticism of like your Auburns or your Arkansas, teams that would give you trouble in that area. So I would say, a really good rim protector, and then you can never have enough shooting. That's why when I saw that they were in on Malik Dia from Belmont, I got instantly excited for them. And that would be a huge pickup because he is one of the best shooting bigs in college basketball, and he can stretch the floor. And Belmont was awesome offensively. They were like a top 23-point shooting team for most of the season. And a lot of that is because they could bring their center out beyond the 3-point line and him shoot 37 to 40% throughout the season. I think, versatility in your bigs along with rim protection is something that I think you'd really have to get. Yes, you'd like to see somebody come in at like a shooting guard, combo guard position to fill Michi's shoes, which they're also looking to do in the transfer portal because they're in on somebody like Jordan Sears, who's a Tennessee Martin player who averaged 21 points a game for Tennessee Martin while also shooting over 40+% from the three-point line. So there's certainly avenues where you can get that type of production in on day one. But if I had to pick one, which I'm going to do, I'm going to say get you either a rim protecting big or a stretch five.
And we talked about Federico of Pitt, who's
Federico times two.
That's right, whose brother will be coming into South Carolina as a freshman. They're Finnish. Federico is older and has been at Pitt a couple of years. But as you mentioned, one of the better shot blockers in all of college basketball. Mm-hmm. Again, no word on if he is one of the targets for this staff. But we'll be paying a lot more attention to this. I know excitement is high.
He would fill that hole.
Yeah. And he's done it in a great league. Mm-hmm. So there's that.
Against teams that also have really good size and athleticism in the ACC. Yeah. Obviously, a team or a conference that's filled up, 25% of the Sweet 16?
Yeah. Speaking of the ACC, according to Jeff Goodman, John Rothstein, and others that cover college basketball, the University of Louisville is very close. It has not happened as of yet, but very close to hiring the College of Charleston's Pat Kelsey to be their new head coach. Pat has, of course, been here in the state of South Carolina for a while now at both Winthrop and Charleston. Has been to the tournament 4 times, including this season. They lost to Alabama in the opener, but the trajectory has been there for him to be moving his way up. He's a guy who grew up in that part of the world. He's from Cincinnati, not too far at all from Louisville, so getting back home might be nice for him, but that would be icing on the cake. It's interesting now. I think a lot of Louisville fans believed that they were going to be luring a proven winner from a big school. And you and I were talking this morning because we kind of thought Kelsey would be in the mix, but I asked you somewhat rhetorically, is Louisville's top candidate still coaching? You just mentioned the Sweet 16. And then you and I kind of went through the roster of coaches still around, and we were like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Otzelberger at
Iowa State.
At Iowa State was about the only one that fit the bill, but really when you're a 2 seed in a great league and they're going to pay you,
because Iowa State's going to fork it over.
Yeah,
they do care about basketball.
Yeah, they're going to pay you. And again, you're in you got a great situation. And really, that school's been good at basketball before him. They've had some success. They punch above their weight. That's an impressive program.
Fred Hoiberg got him to really good heights, and
Fred's now got Nebraska doing good things. Didn't work for the Bulls.
Yeah. That was a questionable hire in itself for Chicago, who has gotten really into the hiring old college coaches since then. But
anyway, it certainly looks, and we'll keep you updated on that because it feels like that's going to happen today. Mm-hmm. In fact, one thing said that a deal is expected to be announced at some point here today, so we'll see. But I know Charleston fans will miss him, but he's done great work for them. But you had to see this one coming, and this will, I don't know, I'm going to throw out a number that say this might at least double, if not triple, his pay.
Oh, has to. Obviously, the job upgrade from College of Charleston to Louisville is part of the allure of taking that job, but also you're probably not doing that if you're not getting a pretty hefty raise that College of Charleston can't match.
Well, I'm gonna throw something out here that might shock you in terms of what he needs to go start doing. Cruton.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you didn't see that one coming.
No. Stunned. Yeah. Completely stunned.
We'll talk baseball on the other side, and John Whittle coming up. Carolina wins last night, a big series ahead of them in Tuscaloosa against an Alabama team that just got swept. So is this a winnable series for Carolina? We'll talk about last night and more throughout the course of the afternoon. You are listening to the Postgame Show. Been talking to you for a while now about the great people at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. I love doing it for reason number one, they're just great people to work with. Number two, my wife and I are customers, so we believe wholeheartedly in how they help folks all across the Midlands of South Carolina. Credit unions like Palmetto Citizens don't have stockholders. They're there to return earnings to their members with fewer fees, lower rates on all kinds of loans, whether it's a mortgage, an equity line, new credit card, car loans, student loans, whatever you might need, they're ready to help you out. And they can also customize terms and payments to fit your needs and budget. Very nice in today's inflationary times. Apply online now for any and all of those things. PalmettoCitizens.org, or visit any of the 14 convenient Midlands locations. They've been doing this for more than 85 years, so they know what's up. Palmetto Citizens. Again, PalmettoCitizens.org. And remember, at Palmetto Citizens, you can achieve your potential.
Obviously needed the day off. He caught 3 games in the last 48 hours. We have a short week. We're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and he will catch those games. So he needed a day off, and so it was either first base or DH. I wanted to get him off his feet completely, and Reeves had been doing really good in practice, has had a great attitude. We were playing his former team and just thought it was the right move, and he took advantage of it.
That was Coach Mark Kingston on the night that Dalton Reeves had behind the plate. Cole Messina did DH last night for Carolina, so he did get his at-bats, but didn't have to worry about crouching back there. But Dalton, 4 at-bats, scored 2 runs, both on home runs, a couple of hits, drove in 6, also had a walk. Just, against his former team.
Pretty good feeling.
That's a nice night, man. I mean, you drove in basically a third of your team's runs in a backup opportunity. Again, South Carolina wins last night 19-14. I know that 14 for the Blue Hose might have a little bit of concern behind it for some Gamecock fans, but Carolina wins their 6th straight. And let's jump right to that here. More from Coach Kingston. Coach, 16, please, Elijah. It was, at times, a difficult night on the mound for Carolina.
Conditions sure didn't help. It was rainy, it was damp, it's a little slippery. Sometimes it just happens, and on those nights where it feels like nothing's really going right on the pitching side, it's up to the hitters to kind of pick up the slack, and they did that. The pitchers have picked us up and have picked up the hitters a lot of times this year, so, sometimes you need to trade places there, and again, the objective is to score more runs than the other team. We did that. Tonight was a night where the hitters picked up the pitchers.
South Carolina jumped out early, 7-0 in the first inning. Then a mild rain delay. I don't know if it says how long here. How long was the delay? Does it say on the box score? I don't have that. I can't remember how long it was. But anyway, then a couple more. PC scored their runs late. They got 8 runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Actually, 5 in the 7th and 3 in the 9th. So
it's over half.
Yeah, and just again, I'm joking when I say this a little bit, but it's almost like I said earlier, listen, guys, just get out there and just get the ball over the plate. Let's just get out of here. All right, we're good. Now look, if PC kept scoring, you have issues, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to hold this against South Carolina. You won the baseball game. But like you said, and I don't disagree with you, on a weekend where you only allowed Vanderbilt to score 9 runs, and not all of them were earned runs, then, yeah, it feels like, ugh. But then you go look at who pitched relative to, some of the guys that are trying to get some work. Like I said, I know there's some concern about this to some degree. And you made a good point, too. Last week, Upstate scored 8 against maybe a lot of these same arms. So, listen, these midweek games can at times be crucial. So I'm not going to discount it. Like Mark said, sometimes it happens, but they know they need to shore it up. There will be some tougher midweek games. And when you want to host in the playoffs, these are the games you can't lose.
Because just like in basketball, your resume is looked at very closely. Yeah. And the same way, if the men's basketball team were to have lost that home game against Charleston Southern, that was really close. Yeah, you're probably going to have to do a whole lot more in your conference to prove to a committee that you're going to be in the tournament. Same thing in baseball. They're choosing who's hosting. They're going to look at the teams you beat and the teams you lose to. You don't want to lose a game like this. And obviously, the score 19-14 doesn't sound great. You look at the box score, you struck out 11 batters, cool, but you walked 13, not great.
There's my biggest one.
That's the concern.
When you give them that many free passes,
yeah. That's the concern. And look, I get a lot of these guys aren't going to maybe see hardcore SEC action, but they got to be ready in case you do. I mean, what if you watch the Texas A&M Houston basketball game a couple nights ago? Who hit one of the free throws to basically seal the game for Houston? A walk-on who had to play because 4 players fouled out. Right. You got to be ready if you want to be able to help your team win games. There might be a situation where you need a McCreary or a Simpson to be able to get you out of a jam in a big SEC game, to be able to preserve arms, to be able to just give them an inning, give them a couple outs. It's a process, and last night was a bumpy part of the process for some of those bullpen guys.
Well, you're going to have North Carolina in 2 weeks up in Charlotte.
That's when you're going to want to win.
Yeah, and you're going to go to Florida right after that. You go down to the Citadel, so traveling down there is a good midweek test for you. You're likely going to reschedule. You hope to reschedule that Clemson game, and if you do, it'll be a midweek game.
It'll be one you're going to want to win.
Yeah. So, there's a couple left, and again, you can't lose them. And they didn't lose, but there are certainly things to correct. And again, John will talk with us about that. One more, Coach, from Coach Kingston, cut 19, please, Elijah. This is Mark. A quick answer on what else he might still be looking for from his ball club.
As a coach, you always want to continue to see an upward trajectory of your team, the improvement, the things you learn about your players, your personnel, what makes them tick. I think we can continue to get better in all areas, pitching, hitting, defense. I think hitting-wise, we're starting to hit our stride again and be who we thought we could be. Pitching has been really good all year for the most part, and defense has settled in as well. So I think at this point it's just consistency, and it's continuing to learn what makes us be at our best.
Alabama was a top 15 team going to Athens. They were swept. Look, right now after 6 games, there's a lot of bunching up in the middle in terms of conference record. I do believe Arkansas is showing that they're the best team in the league at this point, and again, an impressive road victory, series victory for Florida at Baton Rouge. But for Carolina to sweep Vanderbilt is a big deal. Just taking 2 would, I think, have been fantastic for the Gamecocks at this point, and to sweep a doubleheader is maybe even more impressive because of the limitation on some of your arms. So a nice weekend for Carolina, but you certainly need to build upon it. There's no doubt there. I will ask again. We'll ask John Whittle a lot of things. How winnable is this road series relative to some in conference play? Alabama might be better than we think. I think that's one of the teams of late that we don't think as much about when it comes to just weekend strength for 10 straight weekends. Like some, but going on the road is tough. It always is. So it's always going to be a test. And again, you've got a compacted amount of baseball in you right now. So your arms and their production will be at a premium.
Yeah, and Alabama's going to need to get some wins. Anytime you get swept, that puts you behind, the 8-ball a little bit. They're going to have to start stacking wins as well. As competitive as this conference is, Alabama's in a position where the teams ahead of them in the West are, teams like Arkansas, you're chasing LSU. You're going to be chasing some incredible teams. And while we can sit here and be like, yeah, Alabama's one of the more gettable road games that you're going to be able to get, or road series that you'll be able to have on your schedule in SEC play, they might be looking at you being like, you might be one of our more gettable home series. So being able to get one from I don't want to say desperate, from a team that could really use some W's right now, would be pretty big. It's not going to be an easy series.
We'll talk to John Whittle on the other side of the break. We'll also, a little bit later on, going to give you a chance to win tickets to Carolina, Texas A&M next weekend back here in Columbia. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But more Carolina baseball talk. A few spring football notes as well. Our good friend John Whittle, the Big Spur, as the postgame show continues. I want to take a minute to talk about my friend Dan Balknight, Dr. Dan Balknight, and his team at the men's clinic out in Irmo, Carolina Cardiovascular Associates as well. Just terrific people to take good care of you guys, especially you remember how you felt in your best and younger days. And at the men's clinic, they are experts in men's health. They believe that men deserve to live their best life at whatever age, and that means optimal health and wellness, treating each patient holistically. Dan will sit and talk with you. He'll know you, ask about what you do, your life, your habits, your wants, your needs. He really does take a very personal approach. I've been super impressed with just how great he is to work with. Their practice maintains the highest medical standards. You'll get terrific lab work. They'll figure out what's going on and make you feel the way you want to feel. Call them up for a free consultation and learn more. 803-875-MENS, the Men's Clinic in Irmo. Talking some Gamecock baseball, throw in a few other things as well with our good friend John Whittle. Always a pleasure to have him on the beat, covering Carolina athletics for the Big Spur. How are you, sir? It's been a few weeks since we've had you. Did you survive the rain delay last night?
All 15 minutes of it, I was able to make it. I don't know how many pitches it was. Actually, I got that in front of me. 226 pitches from South Carolina's pitchers last night, and 205 from Presbyterians. The 15 minutes was fine. The 420 something pitches, those weren't all great.
Yeah, I can believe you. Coach Kingston said sometimes it happens. That's sort of the message I've been saying here to the audience in the early going. But as Elijah pointed out, there were a lot of free passes issued by Carolina last night. So on the John Whittle scale of 1 to 10 with pitching concern in the midweek, last night was what?
Probably 0.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 1. Listen, Eddie Copper's been great all year. You know, he wasn't great last night. I think the Roman Kimball concern in general, I don't know if he's a midweek pitching concern, but I think the Roman Kimball concern is there right now. But you had a guy making his debut coming off of Tommy John from a little over a year ago. You got a freshman who's making his second appearance. Who was missed the whole fall with a back and has only thrown 2/3 of an inning or an inning so far this year. You got a guy in Sam Simpson who's been, and respectfully to the kid, he's been hurt since he's been here, and you don't know how much you're going to get out of him anyway. The rest of the guys were fine. It wasn't. I didn't think it was a big deal at all. I think the biggest concern coming out of last night was I think they felt like they had Roman Kimball in a little bit better place than what he looked like last night. And, he goes and gets that strikeout to end the third inning, strand a couple runners on base, and then throws 12 balls out of 14 pitches. I think that's really the only concern out of everything that went on last night.
Well, and, we talked about, the pitching, but there is, scoring 19 runs is pretty impressive too, especially considering Cole Messina got a night off behind home plate, basically. I know he had 5 at-bats, but Dalton Reeves came in there as catcher and played really well against his old team. Lexington County Blowfish legend Dalton Reeves, 2 of 4, 6 RBI, 2 home runs as well. How big is that to have a guy like Dalton Reeves be able to come in, spell Cole for a night behind the plate as a catcher, and then be able to give you that much production at the plate, especially considering we haven't gotten to talk about a player like Dalton Reeves a lot this year?
Yeah, and first of all, it's great news that Cole Messina didn't have to catch those 226 pitches last night. That's the biggest deal out of all of it. You very rarely give him a day off from behind the plate, but you're glad you did on this one with the way that game went last night. So I'm sure he's very thankful this morning, to not have those knees feeling like they would. But Dalton, sometimes it's just nice to have an old guy. And Dalton, like you said, we haven't really talked about him a lot. I've liked him a little bit more as an offensive player versus behind the plate. But he did fine back there handling those guys. He did fine. I think if Cole Messina is behind the plate, you probably don't have 13 walks because Cole Messina is an elite guy defensively, and that's another part of the reason why my concern level is really low on that stuff. But Dalton did okay back there, and he obviously had 6 RBIs with those couple of home runs. But he's been around the block a little bit. He's played at 2 different schools, including Presbyterian for a couple of years, and I think that was a very wise move last night to give him a game back there because there's really not a ton of difference between him and Ryan Bakes from a skill set of where they are now. Like Ryan Bakes, I think is going to be a really, really good player at South Carolina in time, but they're probably not real different right now in terms of in terms of production between those two guys. So, I like giving Dalton that start against his old team, and obviously had a huge day.
Talking to John Whittle, the Big Spur. Carolina beats PC last night, 19-14. They'll be in Tuscaloosa this weekend. We'll get John's take on that one in just a second. But let's go back to the weekend sweep of Vanderbilt and the importance of it, John, especially considering that Carolina also swept a doubleheader to start the series after Friday night's rain. How much of this production did you see coming against a team like Vanderbilt? How impressive was it, considering that Mark and the staff have still had some tinkering to do with this lineup and personnel?
Yeah, and I think they're pushing some of the right buttons at the right time. Blake Jackson has gotten in there, and he's one of those guys who South Carolina's really good Omaha teams. They've always had a couple of guys like that, just kind of gritty, kind of dirtbag, tough out kind of guys. He didn't move the baseball enough to start the year and got replaced, but now he's back in there, and I think he adds a little bit of toughness to the lineup, a little grittiness to the lineup, and I think that's something that was really needed. So I think they're pushing some of the right buttons. Tyler Causey and Gavin Casas, I think they figured out that platoon a little bit. Kennedy Jones and his split up Messina and Petrie in the batting order. I think that was a really good move. So they're pushing some of the right buttons right now. But just on the whole, this is what I thought the lineup would look more like, going into the season in terms of production, not necessarily in terms of structure, but in terms of production. Like the last, dating back to that Sunday game against Ole Miss, they look about like I thought they would. Now, that being said, it's a six game stretch at this point, so they need to keep replicating it and keep producing that. They had about 20 games where things weren't going so great. So 6 is really good, but you got to keep building on that from where they have been. So I really like where this team is right now offensively. Parker Nolan, he may have gone 1 for 5 last night, but he hit some balls really, really hard, including the home run to start the game. I think he's in a really good spot. Ethan Petrie is in a really good spot. I think there are a lot of positives right now going on with this lineup offensively.
And then, one of my favorite takeaways from the weekend series against Vanderbilt was, Tyler Pitzer getting to go out there, get a start, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, became the SEC Freshman of the Week for picking up multiple wins during the week. But what type of revelation has he been for this team in terms of maybe molding out the weekend rotation?
I tell you, they've had some guys who have been really good on the mound, who you didn't know you were going to get quite that much out of, this season, whether it's Tyler Pitzer or Garrett Gainey or Parker Marlott or, even Eddie Copper. They've had some guys who have pitched, probably at least a little bit better than anybody thought. And Tyler's one of them. And, he was very much a freshman coming into the season. He had some really good and some really bad in the fall. Like, he had strung together a couple of good ones in the fall, and then Garnet and Black's spring game, it was like he was like a deer in headlights. I mean, he balked a couple of times. He was walking guys, throwing balls to the backstop. Like, he didn't look like a guy who was ready for the prime time. And that we're just talking about the like fall World Series, and then you put him out there against Vanderbilt, and he looks like, he looks like a pro out there doing that, and never flinched, never wavered. That was one of the most impressive performances from a freshman pitcher that I can think of, in recent memory, and that's Clark Schmidt throwing a lot of innings. That's Will Crowe throwing a lot of innings. That's Jack Wynkoop throwing a lot of innings. I mean, he had one of the best performances of any freshman pitcher that I can remember at South Carolina.
John, last thing for you. Got about a minute left. Give us your quick scout of this road trip to Tuscaloosa, especially after the Tide just got swept in Athens.
Alabama's an offensive team. I mean, they're okay on the mound, but they're an offensive team. They hit for a high batting average. They slug at a high rate, bunch of doubles, bunch of home runs. They don't steal a lot of bases. They've got one guy who's got 10, and the rest have 10 combined. But it's an offensive team, so it's going to be kind of strength versus strength this weekend. South Carolina's obviously been really, really good on the mound, save that game last night, and maybe a couple of innings here or there over the course of the season. It's a lineup that has some length to it. You're going to see probably 7 guys in the lineup, maybe 8 who are hitting over 300 on the year, and South Carolina's got probably 4, maybe I think 4 of those guys. So you're going to see a good offensive team, and see which aspect works best, South Carolina's pitching or what Alabama can do offensively.
Great stuff as always, sir. We appreciate you, and we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
That's our good friend John Whittle. John M. Whittle on Twitter. TheBigSpur.com is the website. Got some breaking Panther news with a little local angle thrown in. We'll give it to you as the postgame show continues. All right, welcome back in, and thanks again to John Whittle for joining us, talking Carolina baseball. We got some Gamecock football that we'll be getting to throughout the course of the afternoon. Some national stories around a proactive NCAA leader, which is new. But Charlie Baker, the Governor Charlie Baker, making some more news. We'll get into that for you. But first, the breaking news out of Charlotte. Jadeveon Clowney has agreed to a 2-year, $20 million contract with the Carolina Panthers. There are $4 million worth of incentives as well, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Of course, Brian Burns was traded to the New York Giants earlier. The Panthers also have former Gamecock DJ Wanham coming in, so a couple of Gamecocks up front. There's even been, and this is not news yet, but there have been whispers that the Panthers may bring Stephon Gilmore back into the fold. Again, that has not happened as of yet, but JD will be back, and of course, from right under the border in Rock Hill, and now back into Charlotte. So this is a big pickup for them. You were just going over some of the numbers. I mean, this is his 11th season. He's still making 8 figures. He's not getting the league minimum. This is a guy who is still highly sought after, despite maybe, as I like to say, and I was just telling you, some of the trading card stats not necessarily being attached to his name.
Which is what makes his career so interesting. I mean, he's played 10 full seasons. He's got 52.5 sacks. So, I mean, he's averaging, what's that? What's that math? A little over 5 sacks a season, which isn't, that's why he doesn't have, I guess, an all-pro. He's got 3 Pro Bowls, but that's why he doesn't have, an all-pro. But if you look at a lot of the advanced stuff, the advanced stats in terms of pass rush win rate or QB pressures, QB hits, you look at maybe some of the more advanced stuff, it explains why you can be in the league for over a decade despite maybe not having the 11 sack season or never having a season where you have more than 10, or even in Jadeveon Clowney's case, his career high, he's got 9 a couple times, 9.5 this past year with Baltimore, but he's only played in the 2 seasons of his career. 2 of those 10, he played the full season. He's averaging a little over 12 games a season in his career, so he's missing at least 4 every season because he's had some injury issues, but just because he is so athletic still, and he is such a threat when he's on the edge, teams are going to be able to fork over money, and in this case, $11 million a year?
Yeah. Could be worth up to 12. Again, It's going to be 10 plus incentives. And to your point, last year was only the second time he played every game, including both of the playoff games that the Ravens played in, and he did have 9.5 sacks. That's why he's getting so much money. Last year, he only signed a $2.5 million contract. And his exit from Cleveland was unceremonious. He was not happy with maybe the way he felt he was being treated relative to Myles Garrett, and Baltimore finally took a chance on him, and I think he far exceeded expectation. And now he's got a chance, and we'll see what the rest of the rotation looks like and what the Panthers do with the draft. Remember, they don't have a first-round pick, and their draft picks are limited right now. But you did bring DJ Wanham in, who's had a good career thus far, but losing Brian Burns will be a huge void.
That's still
void.
Big.
Yeah, it is.
So imagine being able to bring Clowney in with Burns on one side, and then you're able to draw doubles on one, and then you're getting getting Clowney in some pretty advantageous situations.
And Langston and I was just telling you off air, Langston Moore and I are a good friend who played, obviously, defensive line in the National Football League and in the Southeastern Conference. We've talked a lot about, again, those second-level numbers or those PFF numbers, Pro Football Focus numbers, the ones that coaches and scouts really pour over. Again, not the trading card stuff, as you alluded to, in terms of some of those second-level numbers. He does get doubled a lot. And while he's not always able to get out of the double team, he is still occupying the offensive lineman or a tight end or whoever's going to be blocking him, allowing others to free up the opportunity to go after a quarterback or whomever. There are things that you don't make with the checkered, my word, career that J.D. Clowney has had at this point in his career, going into, as you said, his 11th season. You don't get $10 million anymore. You just don't. It's very rare. You got to be super productive, and he was last year. So has he come out of it a little bit? We'll see. But there'll be some pressure on him, and he'll be local. And the team needs everything it can get.
They're going to rely a lot on a 31-year-old.
I hate to say this. I do. I do not like saying what I'm going to say. they're the worst team in the NFL. Now, the good news is the NFL allows for you to get better quickly in a lot of ways.
If you don't trade your first-round draft picks.
Well, so, yeah, they need to get better quickly. We'll talk more in the next hour, by the way, about some of the things that are being said about the Panthers. There was a full 7-round mock draft. I know it's a mock, so you never know what it may hold.
But it's
Some interesting stuff. So we'll talk about that for them and a couple of Gamecock names that are in there as well, and they may actually coincide. We shall see. And a chance to win tickets to Carolina A&M still coming up. Lots more to do as the postgame show continues. Time to tell you about Pete Ale Wine Pool and Spa. Listen, they've got the retail store on Sunset Boulevard across from Walmart. You want the official address? Okay, I'll give it to you. 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You can go see them. If you've already got a pool and you're not as keen on keeping it clean or would maybe like the latest in how to keep it looking sparkly all year long, take a water sample in. Now's a great time to do that. Maybe it's been covered all year. You know, okay, you don't want to take like just green water into them. But if you do, they'll tell you how to clean it. Put that shock stuff in there, turn everything all nice and pretty real quick. But seriously, all summer and spring, they'll keep it nice and clean for you. They'll come clean it for you, too. And if you're ready for a pool, you and the family, well, they have been for years the leader in in-ground pools all across the Midlands of South Carolina. You can check them out online, too, PeteAleWinePools.com. Like the two beverages, ale and wine. It's Pete Ale Wine Pool and Spa. And again, shameless invite. Elijah and I'll be happy to come be part of your pool party. Pete Ale Wine, Pool and Spa. That's me on the piano. Welcome back in. Second hour of the postgame show. It's pretty good, huh?
See, you could have gotten away with that if we weren't streaming live on YouTube on the Game TV.
Well, I didn't say it was me now on the piano. It could have been me on the recording.
So that's also true. Could have been. Can you play piano?
No.
I can a little. I took a piano class in high school that
My mom
attended half the
Yeah, my mom was an excellent piano player. I think the problem came in to where my mom thought that she would teach me how to play the piano rather than maybe send me to someone. And I probably wasn't the best student for my mom, but she could play. My mom could sing. I finally started taking guitar lessons a few years ago because my youngest daughter was doing it. My youngest daughter actually can play the guitar.
She can shred a little bit?
She can play. She really can. And I'm attempting as a father to encourage her. Sometimes kids don't want to believe what their parents tell them.
No. No, actually.
You know? So I in an effort to, I really did want to learn. I'm not any good. I'm not any good. But
well,
I do have an Ibanez little acoustic, and it's I try.
It's because of that attitude. You got to put the hours in.
I'm old now, man.
Hour equity.
The old dog, new tricks thing is largely true, but there are exceptions. But no, that wasn't really me on the piano. Just wanted to fool you.
So close.
Yeah.
So close.
Well, nobody bought it anyway. It's all right. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us. Talked a lot of baseball last hour with our good friend John Whittle. Carolina winning last night 19-14. That was me actually having to do that, not me trying to be a smart aleck. When I said winning, sorry, I'll turn the microphone off, and I needed to do that again. So, seriously.
Throat clearing.
Yeah, that was not.
you weren't trying to put winning in italics.
Emphasis. No, that was not emphasis. That was a literal throat clear. I apologize. Not supposed to do that.
Very well timed.
On the air. Speaking of Gamecock baseball, Jordan Montgomery has signed, finally. I know a lot of people. I had even a Clemson fan hit me the other day and say, what's going on with Jordan Montgomery? But Jordan has signed, if you didn't hear, with the Phoenix Diamondbacks, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They do play in Phoenix. They do play in Phoenix. But the Arizona Diamondbacks, the reigning National League champion, he'll go team up with former Gamecock Christian Walker. And Jordan has signed. It's a one-year contract for $25 million, but a player option that vests, really, I guess a mutual option that vests for a second season at least $20 million, so long as Jordan makes 10 starts. So, and he is a durable pitcher. So I got to think that he'll be making his 10th start before June. That would be my hunch. So I think this is a tremendous pickup. Listen, he's a Scott Boras client.
They've had a lot of issues this offseason.
Yeah, they have. Listen, Scott tells his guys that you're going to hold out for max money. And that it'll be there. Jordan, let's put it this way. Let's take former Gamecock Jadeveon Clowney's situation last year where the Ravens signed him on basically like at the 11th hour, right?
Like he didn't have to participate in training.
Yeah, and for almost, I say almost nothing because $2.5 million is still $2.5 million. But JD this year is going to make 4 times that amount because of his production. Jordan Montgomery wasn't going to sign this week for $5 million. All right? He was going to get his. Now, exactly what it looked like, I don't know. But the Yankees were still very interested. The Rangers were still very interested. I think a lot of those teams, the Yankees, I think there had been talk about Philadelphia, about Boston. Again, going back to Texas after the trade from St. Louis. Of course, he won the World Series last year with Texas. All those teams, not St. Louis, but the others I mentioned, the big market clubs and those name clubs all have luxury tax issues. And to be able to put somebody who, even if you're already over and then you go over by that much more, again, it starts to look, the Yankees, I know, Yankees, Dodgers, maybe the Phillies a little bit kind of budget in some luxury tax to the overall book for the year.
That does nothing to them.
Right. It's, it's not nothing. You're right. I know what you mean.
In terms of acquiring talent, it's not going to be our legitimate hurdle.
Right. because
an inconvenience, maybe.
Yeah, their TV money and some of the things they do, and they're always sold out at high prices. You know, they can budget in the luxury tax. Not every club can do that. And with Phoenix being a big city, you and I were talking about this. Phoenix is a big city. Massive. It's Atlanta big. But it is not treated as such. It's treated more like a mid-market. I feel like they treat themselves more like a Charlotte, even though they're as big as Atlanta. And then I joked with you that I remember a few years back before the Astro dynasty had been built, that their former GM, maybe even like 2 GMs ago, you know, was doing an interview one time. I was like, hey, you know, we're a mid-market club. And I was like, dude, you're the 4th biggest city in America.
Mid-market to whom?
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's New York, L.A., Chicago, Houston, right? And those numbers may fluctuate a little bit, but I kind of chuckled at that. I was like, you're not Milwaukee here, bud.
That's some A-plus gaslighting.
Yeah, you know, I was like, when did you become mid-market? Like, you got two cities in Texas in the top 10 in this country. So I don't really know mid-major or whatever, mid-market down there. Anyway, this is a great pickup for the Arizona Diamondbacks because last year – they didn't stumble in. They played well late, and they earned their spot. And with the wild card these days, look, as a Braves fan and watching my team win 100 ball games the last couple of seasons, only to fall to the Philadelphia Phillies, who didn't win over 90 games in either of those years, I get it. If you can get hot at the right time, find the right pitching matchup, you know, keep a couple of guys off base, you can win in a short series. And both Philadelphia and Arizona have proven that out of the National League the last couple of years. I don't know if this turns them into a team that can really be a day-to-day direct competitor in the West with the Dodgers. And the Giants got better too, but I certainly think this keeps the Diamondbacks at the forefront of the wild card chase.
Oh yeah.
And you know, look, if LA falters a little bit here or there, or you win the right games, maybe you're both. You know, maybe Jordan Montgomery is the difference in, say, I don't know. I mean, his WAR is over 3. So is that the difference in 88 to 92 wins? Maybe he even has a better WAR that goes up to maybe 93. He just gives you those durable innings. He allows your bullpen to stay a little fresher later into the season because he's an innings eater. You know, who knows? And again, if LA should have somebody go down for a little bit, or San Francisco, I mean, I still think the Padres are underachieving out there. There's a great opportunity for him. So I was surprised. I thought he would be I thought one of those big clubs on the East Coast was going to get him.
The most important thing to note here is he is a big boy. He is 6'6", and he is left-handed.
Oh, no. Man, listen.
And the Diamondbacks needed some left-handed arms, and a lot of teams do, but this is really more of a middle finger to Scott Boras than it is anything else because the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner just got signed last week to an eerily similar deal to what Montgomery got in terms of the deal, 2 years, and with an option after 1. No Scott Boras client got a long-term fat deal. They got a lot of very similar type stuff in terms of the terms of the contract in years and options after 1. But the fact that we did just have a pitcher on a World Series winning team who was a big part of the World Series winning team, like not many pitchers help solidify your rotation to the point where losing Max Scherzer doesn't hurt you as bad.
Right.
But a 6'6" left-hander who is as much of an innings eater as he is, stayed on the market at 48 hours before opening day, is incredibly impressive and also shows just the vitriol that exists between Major League owners and Scott Boras.
Last year, 3.2 ERA, 188 and 2/3 innings. Again, about a third of those when he was in Dallas with the Rangers. They won the World Series, had a fantastic ALCS. Interestingly enough, I think he lost their only World Series loss. But he pitched okay in that game. They didn't win. But he was like this at Carolina. I think the world of Jordan Montgomery as a baseball fan. He is unflappable. He reminds me a lot, not so much in stature, but he reminds me so much, and maybe they played in the same era and came out, but he reminds me a lot of what Connor Shaw was. From day to day, snap to snap, week to week, were they winning? Were they losing? they were just out there doing their job. And that's what Jordan Montgomery is when he's been with the Yankees, with the Cardinals, and now with the Rangers and soon to be in Phoenix. Just look at him pitch. Some dudes wear their heart on their sleeve all the time. Jordan is the exact opposite. And I love that about him. And listen, I'll tell you, I mean, I know he grew up in Sumter and he's a Gamecock. The Atlanta Braves could have used him. Now, again, the Braves are in the same kind of boat. The Braves have to be careful with where they are in terms of overall salary, and the Braves are still paying Max Fried for this season, and they signed Spencer Strider to a long-term deal. So the Braves and the Braves are giving raises to some other guys in the everyday lineup. I was hopeful that, like, hey, go ahead and do it now. You know, bite the bullet for a year, because I want Max Fried to stay in Atlanta, but I don't think he's gonna. I think the Braves have some people behind him that I think they'll begin to groom and develop.
They'll trust
and
in that
move
spot.
on. Yeah, and that's been the Braves' MO. So it works. I'm not going to sit here and go, how could you possibly? What they've done works. So until such time as it begins to falter, there's every reason to believe in it. That being said, the Braves also do like to plug holes with veterans, and Jordan would fit that bill now. Especially when you look at what Charlie Morton was able to do at a later age in Atlanta after a run in Houston. I was just hopeful that maybe, and like you said, you know, he's a biggin and he's left-handed. And those things matter. But again, 108, I mean, honestly, 188 innings last year. Like, dang, Jordan, why not 210, man?
Right? Couldn't have gone a little further.
Like, what are we doing here? No, but yeah, when he went to the American League just, of course, now everything's the same, so I shouldn't say that. But I'm kind of joking. Like, in the American League, they pull pitchers quicker. You know, they don't care as much.
Just tell yourself.
Yeah, because it was, used to be lower scoring in the National League, but now it's all just baseball. But anyway, congratulations.
It's homogenized a little bit.
And you make a good point real quick. I want to say this, too, about Boris' clients right now. He's coming full circle a little bit. You know, there was a time when he was making sure his guys got mega deals.
He's the king of playing chicken in negotiations.
And now he's got a subset of his clientele, and I would put Jordan near the top of that list, that's in the potential middle of their career. Hey, all right, we want a long-term deal, but otherwise, client, says the agent, listen, you go be you, man, and you go do a short-term deal. Show them what you can do. And then somebody either will give you one of those long-term deals to kind of finish out your career, or even though they don't have the franchise tag in baseball, it can almost be like that. Like, listen, just keep pitching on a series of 1 or 2 year deals where you're getting paid, man. And as long as look at Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton was getting, the Braves paid Charlie Morton $100 million. And he's over 40.
I was going to say, he's broken the 40 mark, right?
So, you can do it. And I think that's what Boris is doing right now. But again, perhaps for a lot of reasons, some of those big clubs didn't want to give Jordan or pitchers like him, Blake Snell, a long-term deal for a variety of reasons.
Michael Lorenzen hung around until, 3 days ago as well. And I want to say he's another Boris client that had a kind of a breakout year for his standards, had a little bit of a breakout year and became a free agent, helped the Phillies make a run. And, 10 years ago, that guy is getting signed in the first 72 hours of free agency. Right. We didn't know where he was going to be playing until a couple days ago. And opening day's tomorrow for a lot of teams.
Well, it's I think it's a big opportunity for him, and a good club, a club that just went to the World Series. And again, Gamecock fans, I know maybe most of you listening are probably Braves fans, but a reason to at least cheer a little bit. And I know our dear friend Tommy Moody is smiling from up above to see a couple of Gamecocks on a National League champion reuniting and see if they can go do it again.
Hey, the Diamondbacks are basically Gamecocks out west.
Yeah. So there's that. We'll come back on the other side. Governor Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, showing a lot of proactivity. First, it was about NIL. Now about something else that is very important to him. Again, I like him stepping out front. We'll talk about that as the postgame show continues. AAA Heating and Air, some of my favorite people to talk about. Roy and Dana Finley and their crew, fantastic at what they do. We're coming out of the cold, all right? I don't know that we have a whole lot more of that to worry about around here unless there's some weird snap. Air conditioning time now. Make sure your system is good to go. 803-677-1500. One of their great techs can come by, give you a full inspection, make sure everything's nice so that you stay cool all through, until what? Halloween, maybe even beyond sometimes. They're also looking for those same service folks, maintenance folks, even salespeople, the best in the business who they're looking for, and they'll treat you right. You got a matching 401k, great company benefits, company vehicle, tablet, computer to take home with you. So if you're interested in switching over to some great folks, AAA Heating and Air is looking for you. So again, you need service, you provide service. 803-677-1500. Call Roy and Dana and my good friends at AAA Heating and Air. Tell them I sent you. Welcome back in. Postgame Show continues on this Wednesday. One of my favorite bumps, but it's one of my favorite Stone songs, too.
It's a good one. I have never made or gone through at least and ranked my favorite Stone songs, but I think Wild Horses is my favorite. I think I do know that one is definitively number one.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of my favorites. I don't like. Yeah, I'm kind of like you. We did a top 5 Friday Stone songs one time. And Can't You Hear Me Knocking? I did put it number 1. I don't know. I'm a guy. Listen, I love all their like the big hits, right?
Right.
Like, Jumpin' Jack Flash and all those are great. But I'm telling you, you can take like the top 20 like best-selling singles that the Stones ever released, and just put them in the vault, and then say, "All right, boys, I need you to go do a 4-hour concert," and everybody would be like, "Oh,
that was awesome."
Because some of the deep cut stuff is just. I love the Stones. I'm a big Stones fan, and they are going back
Somehow.
I'm still bummed out. I've told the story before, so I won't dwell on it. But had tickets, when COVID hit, had tickets for Charlotte and Atlanta, and Atlanta was the North American tour closer, and I was beyond stoked. Stupid COVID.
Ruined a lot of things.
Yeah. See, I'm like that guy that yells at the hurricane. I'm yelling at COVID still.
You're yelling at the virus.
Damn virus. NCAA President Charlie Baker is yelling at people that are not kind to the athletes under his purview. Governor Baker is asking states with legal sports wagering to ban college prop bets. These, of course, are, over-unders on how many yards a quarterback might throw for, or touchdowns that someone might score, or three-pointers that a kid might make, or whatever, prop bets. And right now he says, quote, sports betting issues are on the rise across the country, with prop bets continuing to threaten the integrity and competition and leading to student athletes and professional athletes getting harassed. The NCAA has been working with states to deal with these threats. Many are responding by banning college prop bets. Ohio has done this. Maryland has done this.
Oregon
has done this. Vermont has done this right now. Of course, there are, I believe, 38 states now that allow some form of legal sports wagering, and all of them, he would like all of them to sign on. Listen, we talk a lot about freedoms and you do you and things like that, but I agree with this. And I agree with it more. I don't know. I suppose the two things that he talks about are the integrity of the game and the harassment of athletes. And, I mean, you and I have talked before, and those of us in this business, and even of those of you as fans, like, I laugh and get angry at the same time when I, see some bozo on Twitter at the, NFL level. Thanks whatever player for having a bad game and cost me my daily or my FanDuel or my thanks for not having 80 yards so I didn't get enough points on my fantasy team. Like, shut up, man. Like, really? This is where your life is? And and look, if it crosses a line into the harm to a player or his family, or in the case of college athletics, her family, if there's a basketball player, especially as the women's basketball is on the rise almost meteorically, we don't need that. And at the same time, we've seen point shaving scandals in the past. I mean, look at this Jonte Porter thing right now. I mean, again, not accusing Jonte of anything, but he's being investigated for 2 very questionable games in the last, where his prop bets were the most wagered upon on 2 separate nights, and every under hit on both of them because he pulled himself out of a game with, and this time I did do it on purpose, injuries.
An eye injury.
And then one night he had illness.
A little bit of a tummy ache.
Again,
in the middle of the second quarter.
Like Judge Smales. Oh, my arm, it's broken. So I agree with this. I know it can be problematic, and I'll be curious, especially in certain states where wagering has been around longer and is more established, how they may react. I don't know what the Nevada Gaming Commission might say about something like this. Honestly, I don't know. And I was asking you earlier, somewhat, we were asking each other, I guess, kind of rhetorically, are there documented cases or enough documented cases of either integrity coming into question at the collegiate ranks or the potential safety of an athlete coming into question for states to do this. You know, I think college sports matter so much in Ohio. They were like, sure, we'll do it. In Maryland, sure, we'll do it. Will other states follow suit?
Yeah, highly doubt it. And here's the thing, too. I think the demand might also outweigh, I guess, maybe the best way to put it is there are a lot more rule followers of this than there are, I guess, people that make life a living hell online for some of these guys. And there's a way to also curtail that as well, instead of just outlawing gambling, which, let's not be naive, has absolutely happened in the college ranks. The 70s, Boston College had a basketball point shaving scandal.
Tulane's had
CCNY in the 50s was a basketball powerhouse, succumbed to a point shaving scandal. Stuff like that is, when it's below board, is more likely to happen. I think the biggest issue, and here's the thing, where Charlie Baker's coming from is a good place of concern, and a lot of that is online harassment. But there's also ways in 2024 where a lot of, Ticketmaster accounts have email addresses attached to them, right? A lot of Twitter accounts have email addresses attached to them. If a player can flag a certain post and you're able to prove the email address that it came from, which these social media companies can provide, where the email address came from, then we can maybe ban certain people from entering certain arenas and doing certain things that fans that follow the rules have the luxury of enjoying. Say that, I harass, if I, in basketball season, had a prop on Michi Johnson points, and then I harassed him on Twitter about it. Well, he should be able to flag that, and for there to be an investigation to be like, hey, or have like a task force to be able to be like, oh, yep, that email account right there will never be able to buy a South Carolina basketball ticket again.
Or if it crosses a certain line, that you might be able to find the human being and his or her home address attached to it.
Yeah.
And be able to send, law enforcement.
You'll be able, you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And we can in 2024. That type of information technology is beyond available, and nor is it really a breach, I feel like, of personal privacy, especially if you are doing things like threatening or ultimately, committing harassment online. And I think that's really the big issue here. I think we can still curtail that without maybe taking away certain things that would be really hard to take away.
Yeah. There's a company called Signify that works with the NBA that the NCAA is now working with. And according to Governor Baker, it says they basically track ugly, nasty stuff that's being directed at people who are participating in their tournaments. We'd use it the same way, and it can shut it down or basically block it, and in some cases even track back to where it came from. That goes to your point. So they are working with someone. I would imagine, I'm with you. I don't know that they can completely, or that enough states will completely ban this, because there's money to be made. But I would imagine, too, like a lot of things, get a larger sample size, much like what you do with a medical study or something. It may take time. That Ohio has done it, that Maryland has done it. That's fine. That's good. I'm okay with what they're proposing. But at the same time, as I said, on the flip side, to your point, there are a lot of people that enjoy this and that just want to do it, especially like with the men's and women's tournaments right now. Mm-hmm. Props on whomever, whether it's Zach Edey rebounds or Caitlin Clark points or whatever. So I get it. It's out there. That's why I say if it becomes problematic, if there are documented cases of either harassment of gamblers trying to get to somebody. Integrity of the game, whichever side, both sides, then maybe it gets addressed a little bit more fully. And then I think at that point you would get states to be far more willing to quickly snap and say, all right, we're cutting that one out. Come back on the other side of the break, switch back to the NFL. Again, the Jadeveon Clowney news is out there. We'll recap that for you. A recent ESPN mock draft has some interesting notes on the Panthers and a potential landing spot for Spencer Rattler and a couple of other Gamecocks. We'll tell you about it as the postgame show continues.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We're going to start here in Richland County. One on Highway 16 and Highway 48 near South Assembly Street and George Rogers Boulevard is causing some traffic backup. We got another one on I-77 northbound. That's over at the Blythewood Road exit 27. Got one on Jamil Road at Piney Grove Road. It's caused some delays here for the last little bit. And lastly, here in Richland County on North Springs Road at North Brickyard Road. And in Lexington County, we have a few accidents. One on US 378 at Charter Oak Road near St. Peters Road. One on Old Cherokee Road at Wise Ferry Road. One on Leapart Road at US 1 near Augusta Road. And that is it.
Talk a little NCAA. We've talked a little Jadeveon Clowney, a little Jordan Montgomery. So a lot that we're doing in this second hour of today's postgame show. Welcome in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Our buddy Cale Wilson is hanging out with us. We were just talking off air. He asked me, do I have an NFL team? And I told him the story of how I became a Denver Bronco fan at a very young age when Santa Claus brought me Denver Bronco helmet, Craig Morton jersey, Randy Gradishar jersey, the pants with the orange and blue stripes.
Fan pre-Elway, which means you are a fan.
Big time. Yes, Craig Morton, man. Craig Morton, number 7. Yeah. Sadly, I have none of those things anymore. I would have probably given all the other stuff away, but I would love to still have that helmet.
See, I still like keeping some of my early fandom stuff, even if it doesn't fit me. I still have the shirt that I wore, the Drew Brees shirt jersey that I wore when the Saints won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Back when I was a
Jersey.
My jersey, yeah, my
Jersey.
Drew Brees jersey. That I know when I was a freshman in high school, when I was about 65 pounds lighter. Does not fit me anymore, but you know what? I still keep it. Still keep it. Good luck. It's one of the best nights of my life.
And if you're like, well, Jay, why did Santa Claus bring you Denver stuff? You live in South Carolina. I was telling Cale, and I've told the story before. My mom's best friend growing up, her family lived in Denver. Her husband was in the Army, and he was stationed out there. And he was away for a bit when my mom's friend was pregnant with her third child, and Mom went and stayed with her when the baby was born for like a month, or like in that summer, And so then Santa did his thing later that year. So
it helped out.
That's why. That's how I became a Denver Bronco fan.
Love a good fan origin story.
And it's been hard since they won the Super Bowl.
Hey, yeah, haven't been back to the playoffs since.
They have not, Elijah. Thank you.
If you haven't noticed.
I kind of have.
Kind of kept up with it a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, at least they did a really good job here recently of trading for a quarterback that won a Super Bowl. Just kidding.
You know who he beat in that Super Bowl?
And he's gone.
That's what makes it even worse. I think he just came in to rub it in.
Pretty much.
Y'all remember what I did a few years ago? I'm going to do it again.
Remember what I did to you guys in the Super Bowl? I'm not going to do that to other teams when I come play for you.
That's exactly. He was being kind. So the guys at ESPN have put out a full 7-round mock draft.
Matt Miller went at it.
Matt Miller has not slept in 2 weeks. But that's what I love. The first round mocks, those are just more for Sports Center. Mm-hmm. Matt has gone deep diving on all 200 and whatever picks it is, 257, including the compensatory picks. He
had trades in the first round, everything. It's detailed.
It is. What's the percentage that he gets right? 60, 70, 20?
I'd say we're sub 35.
Yeah.
These things can be so unpredictable.
Although I think he's right now about Caleb Williams. It does feel like Caleb, with Justin Fields having exited Chicago.
That's the free space on the bingo card. Essentially.
Unless it's Jaden Daniels, right? Right?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Small percentage.
No?
I think I'd be willing to.
The way people talk about Caleb Williams, man.
Which I get it. I totally get it, and I don't know if you can even.
They're
take
talking like Andrew Luck type stuff. So I mean, that's
high praise.
It's high praise, man.
He has an alien arm.
But they're saying like they're not. I was listening to Chris Sims the other day, and I'm pretty sure Sims was saying Andrew Luck. Like the last guy that was this great coming out is Andrew Luck, and I was like, okay, because without injury, Andrew Luck is probably still making money.
Without injury and early retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at least be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league.
But he's got Caleb Williams going number 1. He's got Jaden Daniels going number 2. He has a Minnesota trade with New England that would send Drake May to the Vikings. Then he's got the Broncos trading up to get J.J. McCarthy. So quarterback, and then Marvin Harrison to the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh.
Ooh, with Justin Herbert.
Yeah. Read a really neat piece about Harbaugh and what he wants to do too. Like they might eat a year, but he's going to play like rock'em sock'em football, but have Herbert be the guy to lead it all. But he wants some running backs and he wants some big boys up front and things like that. He wants to play old school.
Good luck
in a new school environment. He'll find a way, man. I believe in him. I hate it because now he's in my division.
Well, you're forgetting that, the neglected team in Los Angeles in every sport usually doesn't pan out that way. The Clippers
move back to San Diego.
Pretty bad.
Move back.
The Angels wasting 2 generational talents.
It's terrible.
Going to coach the Chargers is a hard enough gig as it is. I think he's going to make it harder.
I believe in him, but I get your point. But I believe in him. I won't go through the rest of the first round. It might not interest you locally, but I will tell you.
Good luck.
And here's where I mentioned earlier in the show, things kind of cross over. Remember, the Carolina Panthers do not have a first-round pick. That belongs to the Bears. That's why they can take Caleb Williams at number 1. But with the Panthers being, unfortunately, last season, the worst team in the National Football League, they would get the first pick in each round. And they have the first pick of round 2. And Matt Miller says that they will take Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. And he says, and I'll read verbatim, one nugget I've heard from multiple NFL scouts since the Senior Bowl is that the Panthers love this wide receiver class and believe they will be able to add a rookie starter at number 33. The Panthers sent 10 people to the South Carolina Pro Day, and Legette's 4.39 speed at 6'1 and 221 is perfect for slant routes, which would in turn help quarterback Bryce Young get the ball out faster in 2024. The question I have, and as you and I begin to bring more people onto the show in the coming weeks as we get closer to the draft, is Xavier Legette doing enough to move himself out of day 2 and into day 1?
I think he very much could. I mean, that's the thing. This is the highest I think I've seen him in a mock draft. I think that's only going to go up from here. He has just ridiculous intangibles, and then obviously his reputation as a hard worker, and it helps that Dow Loggins was his OC here, who is very well connected in the NFL. Teams know about how he works in practice and what his practice habits are. That is no longer a secret. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see him rise as high as he has. A lot of guys put up really impressive, combine numbers, 40 times, all the stuff that these guys do in their underwear that gets some GMs drooling. But Xavier Legette does the things in pads. He's done the things in practices that I think that teams are figuring out and learning about. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes first round, because you look at the receivers that he'll be competing with. I mean, I think he's better than Xavier Worthy from Texas. I think he is a better overall receiver than Ladd McConkey at Georgia, because he's going to be specifically a slot receiver. If you're looking at positional need, he does a lot of well-rounded stuff as a wide receiver.
And again, moving in even to that late portion of the first, and you mentioned the guy Xavier Worthy from Texas, but also Adonai Mitchell from Texas. He's got pegged at number 28 to Buffalo.
I think he's a better overall receiver than
Ladd McConkey is number 30 to Baltimore, and Worthy is the last pick of the first round, going to Kansas City. Could Legette still have opportunity? The answer is yes, he does. Will he be able in his additional opportunities, to move past those guys, or to just raise another eyebrow somewhere? And again, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
You know,
he's getting a lot of A.J. Brown comps, man. And A.J. Brown's the type of receiver that changes your offense overnight, i.e. the Philadelphia Eagles. Look what happened to their offense as soon as you brought him in.
Right.
Look what happened to the Tennessee Titans whenever he left. They've never been the same since. And the Eagles have lifted their ceiling to be the best team in the NFC for 1.5 years.
We'll come back. I will tell you about Spencer Rattler and a couple other Gamecocks that are on this list. Right now, though, we have the first of 2 pair of tickets to give away. Next weekend's Texas A&M baseball series. If you would like to go, hit Elijah up right now, 803-404-6100. We'll do this again next hour. Plus, Terry Ford's going to be out at JT's on Killian. He's giving away A&M tickets as well. But we have some on the air for you. So right now, 803-404-6100. If you want to go see the Gamecocks and A&M next weekend at Founders Park, be caller 5, and you're going. More on this mock draft and on Nick Saban's technological abilities. The postgame show. Be right back. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Hold on. Elijah just sent the text. Congratulations to Jacob.
That's right. Our man Jacob.
Way to go, Jacob.
Was caller number 5. Quick with it.
More chances to win tickets. Those of you who live out in the Northeast, if you're heading home, our own Terry Ford will be at JT's on Killian. He'll have some A&M tickets to give away. He's going to be out there. I think he's going to call in and sing karaoke or something next hour for a little bit.
He is, or do his best Rick Pitino impersonation.
He's not walking through that door. Do we have any Kelsey updates yet? I'll check on that in just a second. Don't answer that question. But he'll be out there giving you some tickets and telling you about what's going on at JT's. And we, here on this program, will give you one more chance to win via telephone. So we got a lot going on.
The old-fashioned way.
That's right.
Winning things through the telephone.
Real quickly, put a fine point on our NFL mock draft discussion. Again, looking at this today from ESPN's Matt Miller, who, again, has not slept in weeks as he puts together a full 7-round mock draft. Again, Xavier Legette, he's got going first pick, second round to the Carolina Panthers. Again, will that hold? I do not know. We shall see.
Congratulations, and I'm sorry.
And just Gamecock fans, to let you know real quick, Spencer Rattler, he says round 4, pick 3 to the New England Patriots.
I could see that. That'd be an interesting landing spot for him.
Who's their quarterback now? They just got rid of
they traded
Mac Jones. They don't have a quarterback right now.
I can't remember if they signed anybody or not. I don't think so.
Kale, they sign anybody? New England. Kale doesn't know either.
Yeah, see, that's because I do know they traded Mac Jones, so clearly moving on.
Sure.
I don't think they're going into the season starting Bailey Zappi. I could be wrong.
They're probably not.
But, that would give Spencer Rattler a chance to compete for a job.
I think he's got a chance to hang around for a while. That's sort of the word that's out there. Oh, Brissett. Kale tells us.
Yes.
Thank you, Kale.
Classic journeyman backup quarterback. Third string there before.
Pick 251 of 257. Matt says Nick Gargiulo to the Niners. And then right behind him to the Tennessee Titans, to Elijah Campbell's Tennessee Titans, tight end Trey Knox. So a couple of one-year transfers.
Would be a homecoming for Trey Knox. He's from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The Borough.
Gargiulo, we've been talking about him a bunch, man. And I really do. And in conversations I've had with folks around the game who know way more than I do, but I've said, Nick Gargiulo has versatility in the interior of the line. He's not going to be a tackle, but he could play either guard spot or center. He graduated from Yale. He's smart. He can know what he's supposed to do, what the guy next to him is supposed to do. I think he would be an offensive line coach's dream in the NFL. He's got some size. He's got some ability. He's not going to be a starter for you. Maybe he could work his way into that, but he could provide, I think, quality, ready-to-go depth. I think there's a lot to like about Nick Gargiulo, and I'll pull back. I'm pleasantly surprised to see him in a draftable position as opposed to what I thought it would be, which was an undrafted free agent. He may still be a UDA, but I think that's a big deal.
Because if you're making me bet on it, I'm betting on him not getting drafted, but obviously you can't rule it out. Matt Miller looks at the tape. He studies this really, really well. And he talks to a lot of coaches and GMs. Every mock draft you see on ESPN or the NFL Network, usually those people talk to a lot of people inside that are making these decisions. Mm-hmm. So these are usually pretty informed. Now, while they're not going to hit at, even maybe a 40% clip, they get this information from somewhere.
Right.
So he's definitely have talked to some people that believe that if Nick Gargiulo is open in the 6th, 7th round, that they wouldn't mind taking the flyer on him.
Before we get out of here, Nick Saban, of course, will be part of College Game Day and the NFL draft coverage next month. So you'll see Coach Saban doing some things, and hopefully he's now learning how to read emails from his network superiors. But Miss Terry Saban, Nick's wife, was talking to Mark Heim of AL.com this week, and she's teaching her husband technology. Quote, he's actually texting and reading his own emails and sent his first ever email. He even took his first trip to the pharmacy to pick up his first prescription. He's actually quite proud of himself.
He's a big boy now.
Way to go, Nick.
Congratulations, Nick.
Do I really want to believe that Nick Saban has never sent an email? Remember, the Skype thing became a rule because Nick was Now, I get it. The analysts, the young kids on the staff were like, Coach, just sit here. We'll set it all up for you. I get Nick's not doing his own Skype calls
I don't know
back
how to set
in the
this
day.
up.
Or Zoom calls
I don't
today.
know any of this.
But am I really supposed to believe that at post-age 70, Nick Saban just sent his first email? If Miss Terry says so, she's not going to lie.
People have been sending emails for 30 years. I do not believe that he's never sent an email. I guarantee you he sent one on accident before.
Or even texting somebody?
Don't believe it. My BS radar is broken.
Headlines of the day coming up for you. Chance to win tickets, drive around the SEC, and more from Gamecock Spring Football. Be right back.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. Start here in Richland County. Just one to report that's still causing some traffic backup. That's going to be on Jamil Road at Piney Grove Road. In Lexington County, we have a few. One's been reported at Blackville Road near Meadowfield Road. Another one has been reported at Old Cherokee Road at Wise Ferry Road. And then on US 378 between Sunset Boulevard and I-26, we have an accident that is causing some issue in Lexington County. And lastly, we still have one on US 378 at Charter Oak Road near St. Peter's Road. That one's been causing some traffic backup for about the last hour or so.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Wednesday. Welcome back in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Our buddy Cale Wilson is hanging out with us here in the studio as well, wherever you might be. Thank you for being with us. We got a lot to get to in this integrated media news segment, so let me jump right in. South Carolina baseball is where we'll start. Mark Kingston's team winning their 6th straight last night in not uncomfortable fashion, unless being at the game for a long time is uncomfortable. As our good friend John Whittle told us, well over 400 total pitches last night in a 19-14 ball game.
Being a catcher for over 200-plus pitches would be a little smidge uncomfortable.
But last night, South Carolina's Cole Messina was the DH. Instead, it was a big night for Dalton Reeves behind the plate. 2 homers against his former team.
Lexington County Blowfish legend.
That's right, yeah, as you have told us. In fact, let's hear what Mark Kingston had to say about the performance of young Mr. Reeves behind the plate.
Obviously needed the day off. He caught 3 games in the last 48 hours. We have a short week. We're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and he will catch those games. So he needed a day off, and so it was either first base or DH. I wanted to get him off his feet completely, and Reeves had been doing really good in practice, has had a great attitude. We were playing his former team and just thought it was the right move, and he took advantage of it.
And that he was referencing in the first portion of that clip was indeed Cole Messina, who, again, caught all 27 innings of Carolina's sweep of Vanderbilt, including 18 on Saturday. That's a lot. I don't care how young and in shape you are, man. That's a lot. Thank goodness, I'm serious, thank goodness the temperature was in like the 60s. I don't think he could have done it. If that had been a series in May instead of March, I don't think Cole can do that.
Yeah, it'd be asking.
It would be. I mean, could he do it? Sure. But it'd be asking a lot. You know, so it's nice to know that you can have somebody that you can count on. But again, Carolina pitching did give up 13 walks last night. They won the baseball game. John Whittle, the first thing we asked John was on the John Whittle concern meter about midweek pitching issues last night, 1 to 10. John said, 0?
Didn't even register.
Yeah.
Not even on the scale.
And he was like, maybe a 1? But if John Whittle says 0 first, like if John Whittle's mind and gut say 0, like that's the first thing that pops in, I'm going with that.
I believe him.
Yeah. Carolina will be in Tuscaloosa starting tomorrow. Everybody in the SEC has a Thursday through Saturday this week. At least I think they do, right? Because of Easter. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's how it works.
That would make sense. That would explain the Thursday through Saturday.
I do know for sure that they are there tomorrow night. Carolina, at least, is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Tuscaloosa. All right, let's get into a few breaking things for you as we continue our integrated media headlines of the day. It is now official. The College of Charleston's Pat Kelsey is no more. He is now the University of Louisville's Pat Kelsey. A 5-year deal signed today, coming off his second straight trip to the NCAAs with Charleston. He's been to 4 overall at Winthrop and COC. 31-4 a season ago. They've been great, and they went toe-to-toe last season with eventual Final Four team San Diego State. Kelsey now is going to a place that values basketball more than anything else. They obviously have their in-state rivals to contend with. Louisville's won a bunch of national championships in their history. And right now, though, they are very close to the bottom of, a good Atlantic Coast Conference. Not a great Atlantic Coast Conference this past season, although they've got some teams, 4 teams still alive, right? They actually all 4. That's the 4 they got in, right?
No, Virginia, the third place
that's right.
finisher
Yes, right. I forgot. Yeah, see, Virginia. Yeah.
I think we'd like to forget that Virginia.
Yeah, maybe that was it. But otherwise, 4 schools into the Sweet 16. Charleston's won 58 games in the last 2 years. High energy guy, Midwest guy, good track record as the head coach down here in the state of South Carolina, but immense and, dare I say, Elijah, immediate pressure on those shoulders, whoever takes the Louisville job.
Oh, yeah. And there is no, battling for bottom of the ACC. Those dudes have occupied. They're not even paying rent at the bottom. They might have bought a house at the bottom. They might, like with a high interest rate too. I mean, they have secured that spot at the cellar of the ACC. And doing so with winning 3 games last year. I mean, they are living in their dark ages right now. I don't know. Even if this falls flat on its face, it will not fall on its face flatter than what it did with Kenny Payne. That is how bad it is right now. It is absolutely atrocious. You can only go up from here. Pat Kelsey is a high-energy dude. He plays a fun brand of basketball. Now, you told me you saw some people online, which obviously where the mecca of truth lies, but that were saying, he plays a boring brand of basketball. Virginia 2.0.
Virginia 2.0 and all that. And I was like, I don't think that's what he plays.
It's no. I would highly encourage you to A, watch basketball, and B, maybe Google Pat Kelsey. He has not had a pace of play outside the top 200 since his first year at Winthrop in 2013. The last 3 years, he has been inside the top 51 in pace, including 2022, where his team was at running almost 74 possessions a game, which was second best in the country. They play very fast.
Yeah, again, what I saw was not any kind of analytical discussion. It was Louisville fans who, as I was joking with you, think that they should hire, Danny Hurley from Connecticut or John Shire from Duke.
Right. They think they're that to pull. Yeah, you're not pulling away coaches from Blue Bloods right now.
Yeah. Or even at his age, like, Rick Barnes from Tennessee. None of those guys are, you know what I'm going to do here, walking through that door.
They're not walking through that door.
So
even Richard Pitino ain't walking through that door.
No, and that was another one, too. They were crapping all over him, and I'm like, all right, I get it. People were even saying, well, why would Pitino, younger, want to go back to the way they treated his dad? And I was like, well, that's a fair question, but the people that, quote, treated his dad that way are not there anymore. And his dad did have a lot to do with why his dad isn't there anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rick Pitino did a lot of things to Rick Pitino that was some of the reasons why he's not there.
But this is a good hire, and I don't think – here's the thing, though, and this is why I say pressure. I love what Pat Kelsey's doing, and I kind of thought he might have taken a big gig last year, and good for him. He waited it out. This is a terrific opportunity, and it is a great basketball school, and they will support you and spend money. But I also think that too many of them, my opinion now, believe that they've got to be just like Kentucky, that they've got to go out and get the same McDonald's All-Americans that Kentucky gets and get the same Players of the Year in whatever state that Kentucky gets. And I don't think Pat Kelsey is really out to recruit that guy. He's not going to turn him away. And he can now at Louisville go out and recruit a higher level of high school and transfer kid. But I think that's one of the things where if I were advising the Louisville fan base, who doesn't want to hear squat from somebody like me, but I will anyway, temper those particular recruiting expectations. Allow him to get his guys. And in today's world, you can do it a lot quicker. And then let him go play basketball in the ACC. And when one of those kids that you're talking about wants to go and fits the mold, sure. But to think that you've got to go toe-to-toe with the way Cal recruits, I think that's part of what is biting Louisville in the backside. And I read a piece about Kenny Payne losing a bunch of those kids. They didn't want to play for him. Now, maybe that's him and not the school. But nevertheless, don't expect a bunch of McDonald's All-Americans right away the way they do it down in Lexington.
Absolutely not. Like, that will have to come later. You're going to have to do a lot of portaling to be able to get to where you think you should be. And look, they already have a head start because you know who just entered the transfer portal? Point guard Rain Smith from College of Charleston, a 3-year player, and has attempted over 770 three-pointers in his career, is 37% three-point shooter. A guy who plays Coach Kelsey's pace as well as anybody in college basketball. That's been his point guard the last 3 years. More than likely, he is coming to Louisville with Pat Kelsey. So
second team All ACC next year.
Yeah, he very well could be. And a good veteran point guard is bam. There you go. Step one. I would be stunned if he goes anywhere else other than Louisville. And if you have him already, then there you go. There's a basis for your offense. You're going to have a
Lamont Paris on line 2.
Yeah, I mean,
if Pat Kelsey's on line 1.
Yeah, I mean, Lamont's on line 2 saying, "Hey, buddy, we need a scoring guard."
Only 100 miles from where you've been.
Yeah, I mean, you don't.
Where's
have to
he
move
from?
that far.
Where's the kid from?
Oh, he's from Ulverstone, Australia.
All right, so then there's really no difference at this point in Columbia, South Carolina, or Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, there's none. Yeah, you're already on the other side of the planet from where you're from.
Yeah, and then some. Well, anyway, there you go. So, congratulations to Pat Kelsey. That's great for him. He's a good dude, and that's great for him. And now we'll see if Louisville can make it happen. Staying with some college basketball hires, Clemson women's basketball has hired Sean Poppy from Chattanooga. He had been an assistant coach at Virginia Tech for a couple of seasons. He's been at Chattanooga for just 2 years, where he won the SoCon both years and reached the NCAA tournament, obviously, 2 times. This past year, they won 28 games, lost to NC State in the first round of the tournament up in Raleigh. This is a nice opportunity for him. Clemson's going to pay him. He's going to make over $500,000 a year. You're going to be measured against Dawn Staley, or are you going to be measured against the ACC? I suppose it depends on how one wants to do it up that way.
You should probably compare yourself to the ACC. You are not going to be in the same stratosphere as Dawn Staley in this program here in Columbia for a long time. If you do that within a year or two, then it'd be miraculous. Nothing short of miraculous, but it's a really good hire. The guy knows how to win. It's not a terrible idea to get somebody from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, to come build or turn your program around. I think we've learned that here in Columbia with the men's program.
Wrapping up our integrated media headlines of the day, former Gamecock, New York Yankee, St. Louis Cardinal, Texas Ranger Jordan Montgomery has signed a 1-year, $25 million contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks. It includes a really easy-to-hit vesting player option for a second season. All Jordan needs to do is start 10 games, and that second-year option will automatically vest. So for a guy that is as durable as Jordan, who pitched 188 innings last year, had a 3.2 in between stints in St. Louis and Dallas, he's one of the better left-handed pitchers in baseball. And this is a big move for him. Again, a lot of fans around here and around the country were wondering what was taking so long. And, holding out for the max dollars, he's able to do that. And, again, should be able to hit that second-year vesting option rather quickly. 10 starts is all you're looking for here. So maybe by 1st of June or so, you'll know that he's going to be a second-year guy up there. And finally, speaking of baseball, the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies were supposed to start tomorrow, but the Phillies chickened out, and they're going to wait till Friday. At least that's what I want to believe.
That's right.
But instead,
the weather made them chicken out.
Instead, it's the rain. Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Is it really the rain? If it's raining tomorrow at 3 o'clock, then I'll believe them. You know
the
what?
Mets already canceled their first or postponed.
Mets. You know what the Mets ought to postpone?
The season?
Yes.
The franchise?
The season. Again.
The franchise.
The Mets. I don't like the Mets or the Phillies, man. I'm not supposed to editorialize during the news segment, but I can't help it.
This is going to break news. Breaking news. Atlanta Braves fan hates Mets and Phillies.
That's right. That's what I'm here for.
That's news itself.
It is.
No one would have guessed.
So there you go. So, man, I had my outfit all planned for tomorrow. Now I got to push it to Friday.
First day of school type stuff.
You were gonna hate me tomorrow. Well, you won't hate me, but our teams aren't rivals, really.
No,
they used to be way back in the day, but you weren't born yet.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Back when 2 Eastern time zone teams were in the National League West. It was good times, man.
Does that make sense?
Good times.
It's like conference realignment. Makes sense.
Even I knew back then. I was like, wait, St. Louis and Chicago are both further west than Cincinnati. Why are the Braves in Cincinnati in the West? Nobody could ever give me an answer. That's our integrated media headlines of the day. They are right up there in Chapin, which is north of where I am right now. And if you need anything done with home theater, home security, and so much more, especially like an outdoor system right now, oh, it's a great time to get an outdoor home theater. Integrated Media, ready to make it happen. 803-948-8327. Should I go to Mr. Ford now? Oh, let's do it. He's out at JT's right now giving stuff away. Are you giving away cards or just baseball tickets?
We're giving away baseball tickets. I'm giving away right now. I'm giving away our sales manager's car.
Oh, good.
It's a car, right? Nobody specified what car I had to give away, but yeah, so she won't have a car, but it's a nice car.
Yeah.
We'll give it away.
Sure.
It's got the little, you push the button and it starts. You don't even need the key. It's one of those. This fancy push button he wants.
We don't have one of those disclaimers we need to do here, do we?
We'll run that at the end. The one that goes really fast and you can't understand any of it to save us legally? Yeah, we'll run that.
You'll actually win a car. There, I said it. There you go. No, you're a JT.
Yes, and they are giving away a car Saturday. So show up. They're giving away a car at both locations on Saturday. So you got to come register for that. You don't need to register for baseball tickets, Jay Phillips. All you do is show up here at JT's off of Killian. You just come in and say, hey, I want baseball tickets. Heard it on the game, and first come, first serve. We've got X amount of tickets. You don't have to register for them. You don't have to do anything weird or crazy. You just come in and say, hey, you got any baseball tickets left? And if we have them, we'll give you a pair. It's that simple. For A&M next weekend at Founders. So we got baseball tickets. We got substation, great substation subs. We've got chips. We got all sorts of good stuff hanging around here at JT's. We got those construction cones. Yeah, I might give you one of those. That's what the heck.
Yeah, nobody cares. Yeah, don't worry about the safety that is being prevented there. It's fine. It's all good.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, just take your
chances. They want all our construction codes. Weird radio guy who keeps giving them to people. Yeah, we're good, man. We're good. And we'll be out here until 6 o'clock. So you want some baseball tickets? Also check out the fine deals they have all this month at JT's. The month is starting to end, and a huge savings in the month of March at JT. So pop one out here off of Killian, get some baseball tickets, check out some Kias. Maybe test drive a little bit. I might even give you a construction code. Who knows? We're crazy today. We're nuts.
Good stuff. All right. And Substation 2, number 19, is the best sandwich.
Substation is quite
number 19, man.
Quite fine.
The number
19?
The number 19.
All right, I'll remember that.
Just take
number
my
19.
word for it. The number 19. All right. Good stuff. We'll check it again in just a little bit. And we will also be giving you guys a chance to win tickets over the air, too. But on the other side of the break, Gamecock spring football sound. The quarterbacks are talking. Lenora Sellers, Robbie Ashford, what do they say about what they're both looking at under Dowell Loggins? You'll hear it as the postgame show continues.
comfortable. Last year was kind of just fast-paced. Everything was just going like foo, foo, foo. Like it was like I knew the stuff, but when you get out there on the field, it's like first time seeing it like full SEC speed. It's just like you're lost. But now it's just like I got it now, I know everything now, so it's a lot easier for me.
That's Lenoris Sellers talking about year 2 in this program and under Dowell Loggins and the speed of the game. That's what you always want to hear, right? That the game is slowing down, especially for your quarterback, but really for everybody. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you here on the Postgame Show. Our buddy Cale Wilson is hanging out with us in studio as well. We got Drive Around the SEC coming up for you in a bit, but we'll spend some time talking Gamecock football. I think one of the things as we go to cut 4 here, Elijah, that I'll set this up, but I remind everybody, and if you've heard me say it before, then just bear with me and indulge me. But if you haven't, Elijah and I had Coach Beamer. We've had him on the show several times, but we had him on the show right after the season ended, and they were beginning to look at transfer portal things, and they had not yet signed Robbie Ashford, but that they were ready to go with Lenoris Sellers. And one of the things that he mentioned to us was how the rest of the roster gravitates toward Lenoris. There's a real feeling of leadership there, and Lenoris yesterday was asked about that.
I'm just really bringing other guys along with me. Like, I try to do the right thing all the time, so it's just like bringing those other guys with me and then like being more vocal too. I'm not really like a loud vocal guy, so it's just like that was a step that I had to take, like talking in front of the team, talking to like coaching staff and stuff, just building new relationships really.
I don't think Shane goes as public with what he said, or Dowell, without it being true. And what I mean by that is if there were issues with leadership or, again, gravitating towards somebody, you're not going to say it. Because if it's not true, people, especially in today's world, people can find that out really quickly. And so what that tells me, and I'm not here to crown anybody anything, okay? But what it tells me is, as Lenoris says of himself, I'm not really that loud vocal guy. That means it's an example that people just realize. And it's a lot like Boogie Huntley, I think, on the other side of the ball. Alex is not like super rah-rah guy. Now, he can be when he needs to be. Any of us can be when we need to be.
When pushed to it.
Yeah, but really, when you're around a guy like Alex Huntley, and from what I can now gather, a guy like Lenoris Sellers, it's just a quiet, calm, and presence that tells you dude's in charge. And people like that.
Mm-hmm. Especially, if you're able to at least lead by some example, too. There's always those people in the locker room where it's like, if you're ever questioning your behavior or things that you need to be doing to be getting better, it's good to have a springboard or somebody to be using as an example like Lenoris, because he's talking about bringing people along with him all the time. And that's one of those things where, if I'm a player and I'm like, what can I be doing to getting better? And you see that guy working the way he does, then that's a positive impact on a lot of people in that locker room.
One more quick one from Lenoris Cut 5 here. And again, now the work, right? Now the work. This may or may not be your team, but for now you're sort of looked at as that number one. There's no question. How is he building chemistry with the guys that he'll throw to?
It's pretty good. So every Tuesday and Thursday since we got back, we've been doing like throwing sessions. So we got a head start on like just building the chemistry, like on the playbook and stuff like that. So we did that pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday. If they could make it one day, then they can come that day. If they couldn't make it that day, you can just come Thursday. Or if you can make it both days, just come both days. So that's how we did that. But for me, Gage, Jared Brown, the young guys are stepping up too. Not younger, we're the same age, but Tashawn, Craig, those guys. Pretty much it's been good, honestly. Now it's just doing it full game speed. You got somebody on you now. It's not just like route versus air and stuff. So that's pretty much the biggest thing.
And Carolina's only had, 4, maybe 5 practice sessions, so still a long way to go in spring ball. We'll hear more from Lenoris and his coaches in the coming weeks. Let's get one quick one in here as well from Robbie Ashford, the Auburn transfer. What's different, he was asked, about you now after years at a couple of schools?
I mean, just the first thing is I knew when I first came into college it was going to be a learning year. We had older guys at Oregon and, just come in there and try and learn everything you can, and some circumstances don't go your way. And that taught me a lot when I was a freshman, just life isn't easy. That's been a testament to my life. There's been a lot of bad things happen to me, but I'm still here, so it's just a blessing. But you learn in college that it's a business, and you're not going to always get what you want, but it doesn't mean you stop working. And that's what I learned from my freshman year just to now, just the situations I've been through, the hardships I've gone through. It's taught me, hey, life isn't easy. life's going to try and kick you down, but it's just how do you bounce back, how do you keep going? And that's been really big, and I just try and bring that here because I know it might be some days I might not practice the way I want to. It's like, okay, I know I'm human. I can't let that defeat me for the next practice and the practice after that. I got to go in there, go see what I did wrong, come back and just not make those mistakes again and just have fun. I mean, having fun, it sounds, like I said, cliche, but when you're having fun, you're the best version of yourself. And I feel like a lot of guys, we can get uptight and just try and do too much, and that takes the fun out of it, and that takes us from just being able to do what we do. So I would say those are two big things. And then just hard work. I mean, just working. The work never stops. And, as a freshman, you're like, man, this is a lot. But as the years go on, you're like, okay, this is just like clockwork. It's just come in, do it, know what you got to do, know what you got to do extra, and then just repeat it every single day. So that's what I would say I've learned.
Robbie Ashford coming in to compete with Lenore Sellers, maybe back him up. We'll find out. Again, both have similar skill sets in what Dow Loggins is trying to do. And as he said, having fun, well, confidence and joy. Those are the two of the big buzzwords, at least, that Shane Bieber likes to throw around. Confidence and joy. So we'll see what happens next with those guys. All right, come back on the other side with the drive around the SEC. Still a chance to win tickets to Carolina A&M, too. Speaking of the drive around, a familiar face hanging around the SEC. Should he? We'll discuss as the postgame show continues.
The NCAA tournament rolls along. Some really big games this weekend, and if your bracket is busted like a lot of people's, thanks Auburn, Kentucky, you can still enjoy this event by getting in on the Pick'em game, the NCAA tournament Pick'em game by Underdog Fantasy. Our friends give you another chance to get in on the action. Here's how you do it. Just pick 2 to 5 players from different teams to build a Pick'em entry. Select higher or lower on all different kinds of stats in this week's NCAA tournament games. I tell you what I'm looking at right now. Josiah Jordan-James for Tennessee, points, rebounds, and assists. He does a little bit of everything, maybe some steals and blocks for him as well. Here's how you can do it, though. Just download the Underdog Fantasy app or go to UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up with promo code 1075, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code 1075. And you must be 18 or older, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerns your play, call 1-800-522-4700. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways. We'll go ahead and start in Lexington County, where we have a few accidents, and we'll start with one on Bethany Church Road at South Lake Drive. That one's recently been reported here in the last few minutes. Another one on Blackville Road near Meadowfield Road. That one's also occurred here in the last 20 minutes or so traffic's backed up over through there. One on Leapart Road at Chris Drive, and one on Old Cherokee Road at Wise Ferry Road, all in Lexington County, causing some slight delays. Two in Richland County that we have to report on, one on Blythewood Road at Boney Road. That's causing some mild traffic backup. And lastly, we have one on Sloan Road over at North Brickyard Road.
It is drive around the SEC time. Before we get going, though, in the drive around for this Wednesday, by the way, welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. The College Basketball Invitational is currently on, being played in front of about 6 people. It is
that's a generous estimate.
High Point against Seattle. These games are being played in Daytona. But Seattle, this is University, or it's actually Seattle U on their shirt. So it's not even the University of Seattle. It's Seattle University, maybe?
That's right, yeah, Seattle University.
They've got a center named, what is it, Kobe?
Kobe Williamson.
Kobe Williamson is straight out of casting in Hollywood for, like, the drummer of a 70s or 80s hair band. This dude, I saw my first thought, I looked at Elijah, I was like, my guy here, Kobe Williamson, 33 for Seattle. I was like, this guy is in a Journey cover band by night. You know, like basketball player by day, Journey cover band by night.
If Pabst Blue Ribbon isn't forming an NIL deal for this man
guy
right now, then they are missing a golden opportunity to get in on the college basketball game.
I mean, seriously,
golden opportunity.
If a casting director came by and said, listen, here's what we're looking for. A director comes by to the casting guy, like, I need a dude that looks just like somebody out of a 1982 hair band.
There's your guy.
Kobe Williamson, Seattle.
Or if,
And he's from Seattle. Maybe, well, I don't know if he's from Seattle.
He's from Melbourne, Australia.
Well, okay, they got great music.
Yeah.
I mean, Australia's known. Bee Gees, AC/DC, NXS, Men at Work.
There are plenty. Who
am I missing?
Keith Urban.
Keith Urban, all right.
Very Australian.
Yeah.
And, if Kenny Powers ever needs a stunt double, this
dude
is your
looks
guy.
just like him.
Danny McBride, watch out, dude.
So Danny's probably, he's a big dude. He's not 6'8".
Yeah, he's definitely not 6'8", 225. Like our boy.
But again, I saw this dude going up and down the floor. He's even got the tape on his wrists like a drummer would wear, like the sweatbands back in the day.
It's phenomenal.
It's great. Anyway, good luck to Seattle, who's all over High Point in the CBI.
Hey, get you a ring, Kobe.
I think PC's also playing in this.
Played.
Okay,
yeah.
They're done.
Oh yeah, this is the championship game. This is for all the marbles.
Oh, sorry.
This is for hardware.
I do see championship now. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you're not. You haven't been keeping up with the CBI.
No, I really have not. But again, I was just enthralled by a rock and roll drummer playing college basketball. So there's that. Drive around the SEC time. Speaking of basketball, we'll start with the big news that Mitch Barnhart put out, the AD at Kentucky. After I'll paraphrase his tweet, which, by the way, was met with just terrific support.
I can imagine.
But after a postseason conversation, Kentucky is bringing John Calipari back, said Mitch. Listen, I don't think it was the buyout. The team is very good. They're not great. They're very good. They're loaded with talent. John says he's going to alter a little bit, tweak a little bit, at least take a deep look into what they can do. I don't think he will.
No? Oh, no.
But go out and get a better X and O assistant.
something.
Go out and get somebody just to make a few adjustments here. But, look, the one and done thing, I know, again, I think Coach Cal just can't let go. And I get it, man, because I talk about it all the time. Talent. But I don't think he can let go of just thinking he's got to do nothing but bring in the best kids. And you can hit that second level and coach them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's hard for him. And I don't think he wants to hear it. But I don't know, Elijah, and I think I told you this last week. My opinion, I just don't know how many of these kids are really invested in being college basketball players because they're just auditioning in their mind and in their families' minds and in their agent's mind. And, yeah, you can have agents now. They're auditioning for the NBA. And that's fine.
Because that's what Cal sells them.
Yeah.
That's his whole selling point on getting here is like, look at all the guys. Look at the NBA All-Star game and look at how many of those guys are former Kentucky players. That's the selling point.
And I think he does that. Like, I think one time somebody was writing about him and said that he does. He touts, like, the total value of current contracts of Kentucky alums in the NBA and that it's, it's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And so, sure, I get it. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And he's still getting paid.
Mm-hmm. Handsome, a lifetime contract. His buyout's $33 million.
So I just don't. There's just no reason, unfortunately, unless you just really want to be a great competitor, to do a lot of change. And I don't know if it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not surprised he's still there.
Doubt it. Absolutely.
But they could have fired him. They can pay that buyout
easily. Yeah. There's not a lot of schools that would for a college basketball coach. If this was, Louisville, they probably wouldn't do it. If this was, Kansas, probably not doing it. Well, Kansas might, but Kentucky definitely is one of those few schools. You got to put Kansas in there that would pay that type of buyout for a basketball coach.
So what? I mean, I'm serious when I ask this now. What type of pressure is he under relative to the constant pressure that the Kentucky basketball fan base places upon that program to begin with, right? Like, how can Mitch Barnhart apply further pressure?
It would be by threatening the job. I mean, it'd have to be like if you get bounced in the first round next year, like, we cannot in good conscience bring you back.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can see it both ways, and I'm not here to advocate for John Calipari, not that he needs that anyway. I know he's a good coach. I know he's a fantastic recruiter, and I know that in college sports, again, talent, like I say, is 7 out of the 10 things you need to do well. But they're underachieving mightily relative to talent and expectation and resources. And you got to find a way, man. But anyway, and again, if you want to go find Mitch Barnhart's tweet, and just read
the comments. You don't have to read the tweet. Just read the comments.
You're here. Yeah, you're not there for his tweet. You're there for the. I'm even curious now. Probably 5,000 responses.
You might be underselling it.
I might be by now. Yeah,
he's what the kids would call getting ratioed.
Yes. Let me see if I can find that real quick here, just while I give you some other things.
For the specifics, if you can, just for the specifics of said ratio.
Actually, no, I'm surprised. This can't be right. There are only 795 actual responses, but there are more than 1.4 million views of said tweet. But only 790. I say only. But
now, are we counting the quote tweets? I think that's another thing.
That's true. There could be a lot of that. So, yeah. So you got over 1,000. Anyway, Cal is back. Baseball last night across the Southeastern Conference. Arkansas dominates Little Rock 11-0. Georgia and Mercer were postponed last night. Speaking of dominate, Florida and FSU played in Jacksonville. All Gators 14-3. Those are two good baseball teams, too. Tennessee, no issues with Tennessee Tech, 11-1. We already told you Carolina beat Presbyterian in a football score, 19-14. Kentucky gets by Miami of Ohio, 9-5. Belmont, there you go, Elijah, Nashville guys. Belmont beats Alabama in Nashville, 6-3.
Look at that.
Auburn over the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, 13-3. Vandy edges Valpo, 3-2. Vandy. Yeah, they're still hurting from being in Columbia. A&M doubles up Houston Christian 6-3. Mississippi State. Let's see, 9-5 losers to Samford in Starkville.
Not Stanford.
Right. Samford. Missouri beats Illinois 11-3. LSU over Southeastern Louisiana 8-4. And Ole Miss beat Austin Peay last night. The Governors fall to the Rebels 13-9. And again, everybody this weekend is playing a Thursday through Saturday series. We'll have more on that for you coming up in just a bit. That's our drive around the SEC for this Wednesday, brought to you by Herndon Chevy, your hometown Chevy dealer. Stop by the showroom and see why Herndon makes you smile. We do have a chance to win some tickets coming up in just a second. But before that, Terry Ford is out at JT's eating subs. And
yes, I am.
Yeah. And giving away other people's cars.
Well, that car's gone. So if you see a nice little lady in heels walking down 77, please pick her up and give her assistance. She no longer has a vehicle. I'm sampling all the subs from Substation just to make sure they're good for anybody who wants one. Because again, I'm here for the people.
So every sub that somebody could come get actually has a bite out of it? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's not a big bite. It's just a bite to make sure, it's good and tasty. And just a little nibble to make sure it's of the level of Substation that they typically have. I'm just here. I'm here to help.
Look at you. Quality control. That's good.
And I've taken some chips out of every bag to make sure they're quality. I'm just here, man.
I want people to believe you're lying. That's all.
Of course, I'm just making stuff up for entertainment value. I would never do such a thing.
Yes. But you are at JT's, and they are giving away a car on Saturday.
Yes, in all honesty, there will be cars giving away at both locations on Saturday. We'll be hanging out here broadcasting. I think Elijah and I will be out here like 11 to 1:45. We'll have more Substation subs, more Texas A&M, South Carolina baseball tickets for next weekend's games at Founders, and a bunch of other stuff too. So we'll be hanging out here 11 to 1:45 p.m. right before baseball pregame for the Gamecocks and the Tide in Tuscaloosa.
All right, good stuff. We'll go have some pre-chewed subs and other things. Okay, no, that was too much.
Again,
that was too much. I'm sorry.
That mental picture, that was a bit. That was a bit.
I apologize in advance. And now, on the backside of it all, I'm sorry. They're not.
Yeah, take that mental picture out of your head.
The Substation people are going to be like, what the Listen, I seriously, I am a huge Substation 2 fan. And again, the number 19.
Substation's good,
the number 19 of all the subs I've had in my life, the number 19 from Substation 2 through the course of the long life that I've had is the number 1 ranked sub. I mean, there's been a lot of good subs. There's a lot of great subs out there, no doubt. But I've had more number 19s from Substation than just about anything else. So there you go. All right, go see Terry. He's at JT's on Killian up in the Northeast. Have fun out there. Don't eat too much. If you'd like to win tickets to Carolina A&M, I'll tell you what, let's do another pair right now here on. You can call us. You don't have to go get a sub or anything else. 803-404-6100. Caller 5. Carolina A&M tickets next Saturday's game? Next Saturday's game. All right? Call us up. We'll wrap it up for you as the postgame show continues. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show on this Wednesday. Jay and Elijah with you. Kale's hanging out with us, too, wherever you are. Appreciate you being with us here. More fantastic news for Caitlin Clark. Ice Cube has confirmed that his Big Three League has offered Caitlin, wait for it, $5 million to play in their league next season. A 10-week commitment is what they're looking for. He said in a release today, at least on Twitter today, excuse me, we intended the offer to remain private while Caitlin plays for the championship, but I won't deny what's now already out there. Big Three made a historic offer to Caitlin Clark. Why wouldn't we? Caitlin is a generational athlete who can achieve tremendous success in the Big Three. The skeptics laughed when we made Nancy Lieberman the first female coach of a men's pro team, and she won the championship in her first year. Then Lisa Leslie won it all in year 2. With our offer, Caitlin can make history and break down even more barriers for women athletes. ESPN has reached out to the WNBA to see if the current CBA with their union allows for her to do both. I don't know how they coincide time-wise.
Yeah, they would, actually.
That's the trick.
Yeah, in the summer.
And if she's, so, and see, here's the thing, man, and I'm serious about this, and it won't just be Caitlin Clark. She's not just opening a door. She's kicking through a door. But Aaliyah Boston's making a lot of money as a young player. I mean, even people like that aren't as notable right now. I mean, Camila Cardoso is going to get paid. Paige Beckers is going to get paid. Beckers is going back next year. Camila is more than likely done at Carolina. And there are certainly others. The WNBA does have an entry requirement, by the way, so you do have to, like, Juju Watkins can't go yet. But they can't come close to paying $5 million.
No.
I mean, they can't come close. And so that's going to be problematic for the WNBA. And even if you were to say to Caitlin, hey, we're working on getting you even more sponsors, here's a way for her to make a lot of money right now. And how many other – I wonder if it would be better if the Big Three were to invite a few women to play.
If you want to get real competition with the WNBA, you absolutely could and get eyeballs on your product. Yeah.
I mean, that might be better for them. I don't know. But
Caitlin
$5 million. I mean, look, I don't even know. What is the max contract in the WNBA? Isn't it like $200,000 or something? I mean, I honestly don't really know. It's not.
I think it's more than that. Yeah, I think it's more than that.
I don't know. I mean, per year, I don't know. But it's not, you're not making that.
No.
Not per year.
Well, that's why players like Brittany Griner were playing in Russia.
Yeah.
Because they fork over a lot
played over there
of
for
money.
A while.
Yeah. Diana Taurasi has played over there.
Yeah.
The ball's really in Adam Silver's court because the WNBA is a subsidiary of the NBA.
Yeah.
Like if they want to keep those stars in that league, you got to pay up to get those stars in that league because now it's shown that people will invest in that sport elsewhere if you don't.
I think that's the trick, and I don't use that. Maybe I should use a better word than trick, but you're right. It's the NBA's responsibility now to look at what is happening with women's college basketball and the stars that are coming in. And you can do this, and it's perfect timing and somewhat coincidental, but with the Summer Olympics coming up. And Asia Wilson leading that team as a two-time MVP, and Asia's already the face of the Olympics on NBC for the women's team. She's all over their promos.
Yep.
Now's the time to really think about what it is that you want to do with this. Because if not, if I'm these young ladies, I'm just saying, all right, WNBA, I'm out. I'll go do this, and I'll get paid. We'll see y'all tomorrow. One final note from our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Listen, maybe you love your home and you've been in it a while, but it does need a refresh, right? Maybe the kitchen's a little outdated. Maybe you'd like to add on a screen porch or a deck, build a pool. Kids need a playroom. They need their own rooms because they're getting older. Take advantage of your home's equity. You see, an equity line of credit can be fantastic. And at Palmetto Citizens, since they don't pay out stockholders and dividends, you're going to get lower rates and fewer fees. You're going to get lower closing costs. And you unlock that home's equity, you access a line of credit over a 10-year period so that you have that money available when you need it. Not big lump sum all at once. Nah, as your needs change, tap into it. Apply today at palmettocitizens.org or any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. My wife and I love what they do for us. We think you will too. Palmetto Citizens. Achieve your potential.